Hello again, and welcome to Fired Up. I'm your host of the show, Bob Irwin, broadcasting from Rigel Studios here in Las Vegas, Nevada. This show is about guns, related politics, and self-defense issues. Fired Up is on our website, firedupwithbobirwin.com. A new show is posted every Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific time. New shows also appear on YouTube and numerous other media. The audio feed is rebroadcast for radio listeners Saturdays at noon on the Nevada Talk Network. You can check out KELY1230.com for a station in your area, all over Nevada. Questions and comments, send an email to bob@firedupmail.com or leave a message on my office recorder, which is 702-257-1060, probably on the bottom of your screen right now. If you leave contact information, we will respond by email, text, or telephone. My guest today has his own contact information, which I'll give you at the end of the show, so you can get a hold of Attorney Don Green, who will be with me in just a second. There are several hundred defensive uses of firearms every week in the United States, rarely covered by any mainstream media. So we are always try to present a few for our listeners' education. Most of what we use are good shootings. Some are questionable. Sometimes they're bad shootings, wrongful anyway. But all are educational for people who own firearms. Individual incidences generally are adjudicated under local law, so the advice given here might not apply to listeners in a different jurisdiction. If you are involved in a case, you need to have local criminal defense lawyer look at your incident. The incidents here are as reported, except generally I redact the names of those involved, other than the police officers and attorneys, but the individuals, right or wrong, I usually leave their names out of it. My guest today, as I said, is California and Nevada attorney Donald J. Green. Don, if you would, a bit of your background.
Okay. Again, thank you for having me on your show, and my thanks to Rigel Studios for giving us the time to present these various points and issues in this forum. Again, my name is Don Green. I'm a lawyer here in California and Nevada, and now 36 years, with the primary emphasis of my practice for your viewers and listeners are gun-related questions, not only to obtain firearms, seeing what we can do about background checks, but also being involved in firearms legislation, the presentation of that legislation, opposition to legislation, filing lawsuits, challenging various aspects of gun legislation, which we're prepared to do right now. We've got a couple of people who are interested in filing some suits once they receive an injury with the passage of the law, which could come, as Bob will discuss a little bit later, could come as early as the next few weeks. They can reach me directly at 702-409-8239. Thanks.
Okay. This first story follows. It comes from Pasadena, California, which is why I picked it out with the California lawyer here. CBS TV and Fox TV 5 reported on 4/17/19 in Pasadena, California, an East Pasadena burglar was reportedly shot by a homeowner in the 3600 block of Grayburn Road around 3:30 in the afternoon. CBS 2's reporter, a fellow named Tom Waite, spoke to one homeowner. He said she saw the burglar just outside her home after returning from a walk. She's walking up to her own house and sees this guy outside her home. The homeowner didn't want to give her name, but she said she believed the individual leaving her property had stolen items from her home. He was trying to walk out with things in a box, apparently. Apparently, the homeowner confronted the suspect. She said, "He told me it was his home and his mother was inside, but I said, no, this is my house." Surprise. She looked up and saw her door was broken and started to call the police, presumably on her cell phone. The suspect then ran back inside her home and came out with two large rolling suitcases. The suspect, described as a white male adult, reportedly fled down the street and broke into another home. That male homeowner told the suspect he had a gun and to leave, but the intruder did not leave. The second homeowner then shot the suspect in the torso. The suspect was taken to a nearby hospital where he was reported in stable condition. Neither adult victim was injured in this, but Deputy Sheriff Ed Luna added there were 2 children in the second home. Makes a big difference in this story. What we're looking at here is a pretty brazen burglary in the middle of the day. Another incident where an armed household was able to defend itself. Good thing. Details are not available as to the ages, agility, and physical size of the adversaries here. This, as I said, just happened. If you looked at the date we started this, it's a couple days ago. The children in the home appear to make this a valid use of gunfire in most jurisdictions. The question is, in the city of Pasadena and Los Angeles County, was the second resident within bounds when he fired his gun? That's the question for my guest.
Bob, let's do this in the order in which you just stated. The shooting by the homeowner in case number, or incident number 2, is a valid shooting. Number 1, the homeowner in the second house did not know, or may not have known, that there had been a prior burglary of the first house with that single female, and there, of course, the taking of what appeared to be rolling suitcases or rolling luggage out of that house. So when the burglar broke into the second house by use of some type of force, the homeowner was authorized under California law to defend himself, his children, and his home, because the incident occurred apparently in his presence, and because the intruder broke in, probably using some type of force, the force itself applied by the homeowner was justified for the following reasons. Remember, in California, unlike Nevada, you almost have to retreat. There has to be a situation such that you can't go anywhere. Well, isn't there a castle doctrine, Mr. Green, or a stand your ground where I really don't have to retreat? Well, in California, and there's an obscure provision of the Nevada revised statutes which says that you have to in good faith endeavor to avoid this situation. What does homeowner number 2 do? Quote, told the suspect I have a gun and to leave, which the intruder didn't. And then he shot the intruder at that moment. Now, did the intruder have to use a threat of great bodily harm or death? Well, he was already in the house. If he was already there, as we've said a million times, he's not collecting for the Red Cross. He's there to do harm. He's there to harm people. So at that moment, the homeowner had the real, honest, good faith belief that he was going to be hurt, his children were going to be hurt, or he was going to be the subject, he was going to be the victim of a robbery, and took appropriate action and shot the suspect in the torso. It could have been death, but I think that he's going to be okay, even in California.
One of the problems with this case, I like to use cases that are really current, but they come up with things like this where we, as I said earlier, we have no idea of the age, size, weight, agility. Is the burglar a 6'8" guy and the homeowner 5'1", or the other way around? You know, it's all of that matters. All the details matter, and they're all what attorneys on both sides bite into, arguing the case for their client. Looking at this, Don, just for one other second, how about a civil lawsuit from the individual who was shot in the stomach, that he wasn't armed, you know, he realizes he shouldn't have gone in the house, but there was no reason to use deadly force against him because he really meant no harm. That's his version, of course. That's
a good point. The family lawyer, the lawyer for the family of the victim, or his own lawyer, is going to say that this was a drug-fueled break-in. He didn't know what he was doing, and he was only there to steal property. He took 2 suitcases out of the prior house. Nobody got shot. Somebody may have called 911. And in the second one, he hadn't even taken anything yet. So where was the threat to the homeowner for the purposes of the use of deadly force? Well, in Nevada, that's not required. Yeah. In California, wouldn't be required, but still wouldn't be required for whether or not the shooting was justified. And your listeners and your viewers have to make that distinction. There's a difference between the justification to use the force and the amount of force which is used to address the threat. Not every use of force is going to be held to be valid unless the force applied is the force like equal to or less than the force which is against you. So that's a possibility that this victim, that the perpetrator and his family could try to file some kind of lawsuit or try to get some money out of the homeowners' policies because of the injury. But yes, that is a very valid consideration.
Yeah, without all the details, that's the problem. We don't have the agility or the ages or anything, height, weight, anything. And those will really matter in this case. Not so much in the criminal case. I think the homeowner's on good ground. I agree. In the civil case, it will matter, big time. And, the question that always comes up is, will you be sued if you get into a shooting? And the answer is, of course, yes. You will be sued. If you look at every other ad on television and every other billboard, at least here in Clark County, it's from a trial lawyer who says, did anybody hurt you today? Call me. I'll sue the guy for you, or I'll go after the guy for you. No fee unless we win. So the guy suing you gets free lawyers. And unfortunately, you got to pay for yours. This is the unfairness of the system. And the defense lawyer, of course, is going to charge you. And you got to pay him. So it is really stacked in the civil court, I think, against the defendant here.
And the lower burden of proof.
Yeah, and there's a lower burden of proof. It's not beyond a reasonable doubt, but the reasonableness.
Preponderance of the evidence, 51%. If it's 51% in your favor, you win.
So that's all a problem we have. We're going to digress a little bit off the outline now. It's on the outline, I'm sorry, but Down had asked for some time. We want to talk about these gun laws coming up in Nevada and what is going on with them. Most of you are aware, who are regular listeners, especially if you were listening to last week's show, where we talked about AB 291 and the laws that are branching out from it to basically negate our state preemption law. Right now, we're in a position where only the state legislature can make gun laws, and the cities, counties, and townships are limited in what they can do with gun laws. They can only designate where you may shoot your gun, and that's kind of it. And they can put signs up, obviously, on private property or their own property at the city hall that says no guns allowed, that sort of thing. But they can't really regulate firearms other than where they're shot. We lose that preemption law under this bill. If it goes through, it looks like it will, then the cities and counties and townships can make their own gun laws again. So I'm going to turn it over to Don now and see what we're looking at. He's been keeping up with this, so away we go.
Well, thank you, Bob. For your viewers and listeners, here's a little bit about what goes on in Nevada in the legislature. If I want a bill, we generally contact either the state assembly person or the senator, or we can contact the Legislative Council Bureau. They prepare what's known as a BDR, a bill draft review. The bill draft is a sort of like the law, but it hasn't been passed yet, subject to modification, amendment, tweaking, grammatical changes, and most importantly, whether that law already exists on the books or whether it is inconsistent with another law. Now, in the flurry of activity to get these types of laws passed in Nevada, especially when you've got a hot potato law such as anything to do with firearms, while the laws themselves appear to be drafted and crafted very carefully, they may be inconsistent with provisions of the Nevada Constitution and or other statutes. The Assembly Bill 291, the anti-preemption law, and the Senate version of itself extend from what happened in the 2015 legislature. In Nevada, we only have a part-time legislature. That means that all of our assembly people are elected in November of the even-numbered year, and then we've got like 1/3 or 1/2 of the senators are elected at that same time. Our legislature meets for the 120 plus days only in odd-numbered years starting in January, unless the governor orders a special or convenes a special session of the Nevada legislature. And many times that is a matter of some some statewide emergency or something really going to affect the state. Several years ago, the bond issue with the Las Vegas Raiders and getting that stadium built. The Governor Sandoval called a special session of the legislature having to do with something with the bonds or something to do with the construction of that stadium. But 4 years ago, on June 1st, 2015, after a bill was signed by Governor Sandoval, the state had a preemption law which says that local municipalities, counties, cities, towns, unincorporated townships cannot have any or enact any legislation or enforce any laws which are inconsistent with the state laws. That is the preemption. Now, for 4 years, we haven't had any registration of firearms because that was required by counties such as Clark County and Washoe County. So we have not had a true registration of firearms for now 46 months because the law became effective on June 1st, 2015. Now what these legislators are doing is they're chipping away at the ability to own or possess or sell a firearm. And they're doing it methodically. They're hitting the registration, they're hitting the ammunition, as in California. And this year you have to get a background check to get ammunition in California. They're chipping away at the background checks. They're chipping away at the types of firearms. They're chipping away at magazines. They're chipping away also in the modification of any firearms, which is rare, but they want to start doing it. So your viewers and your listeners can see and hear that there are significant changes. With this background in mind, what these bills do, Assembly Bill 291 and then Assembly Bill 153, which have been sent over to the Senate Judiciary Committee in Nevada, they're going to say, okay, city municipalities, we are now revoking or canceling the state preemption law. This would allow counties and cities literally to create gun-free zones. That means no gun shows, no sales of firearms anywhere within the city or county. Perhaps, listen to this, the possession of firearms, or as they did in San Francisco, if you have a firearm, you can keep it in your house, but the firearm must be locked and your ammunition must be locked separately. You cannot have a firearm loaded. That was the law in San Francisco. That went up to the U.S. Supreme Court. That was the law. Now, I noted for your viewers, and this is very important, there's a 10-round magazine ban in California. We're involved in that to the extent of consulting with some of the lawyers. What Judge Benitez did in San Diego in federal court about a month ago is that he had finally granted the permanent injunction and judgment for Elizabeth Duncan, challenging the validity of California's ban on magazines more than 10 rounds. The judge gave a week so people could have the ones that they have, the ones that they had on order, or the ones that were coming into the state, those were going to be legal. The law is stayed, that is, it's held off. But what the law does in California, and what the law they want to do in Nevada, is the same kind of law, and allow, not just statewide, but allow municipalities such as the city of Sunnyvale, California. there's a very famous decision called FYOC, F-Y-O-C-K, versus City of Sunnyvale. It's around a March or April 2015 decision of the United States Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit, Bob's favorite circuit. And this liberal circuit ruled against FYOC. FYOC was a gun dealer, and he was also a homeowner, and FYOC wanted to sell these magazines. But the City of Sunnyvale, using its anti-preemption ability, issued an ordinance prohibiting the sale or distribution of magazines with more than 10 rounds. Why did FYOC lose? FYOC's attorneys argued they used sales statistics and marketing materials. Let me repeat that. FYOC's attorneys used sales statistics and marketing materials where the bottom line argument, which I told FYOC when he called me, and I said, can I tell people this? He said, yes. Why did I lose, Mr. Green? I said, you lost because your attorneys did not get the fundamental question. And the fundamental question is, I have just as much right to defend myself with a standard non-high capacity magazine as defined by the manufacturer as the punks who are trying to kill me or steal stuff from my store. That's the argument. Very compelling, very simple. And we have a couple of United States Supreme Court cases, and the matrix of the decisions of all of the members of the current U.S. Supreme Court are all, believe it or not, 100% on the issue of having a firearm to defend yourself. Even Justice Ginsburg, in a dissent a few years ago, said that you have the right to have that. And out of a slip of the pen, she goes, you have the right to have that on your person. That is from Justice Ginsburg's dissent in a case several years ago. And Justice Kagan authored a unanimous decision of the U.S. Supreme Court a few years ago, which basically said that a felon who has guns, and he's now charged with a felony, can take those guns and sell them and not have any disability and not have any problems associated with the felon in possession. So long as he's already charged, he can dispose of the guns. Justice Kagan issued that opinion for a unanimous Supreme Court. So what we have here is that the remedy for the people of the state of Nevada, the remedy for the people of the state of California is in the courts. And Judge Benitez in California should be hailed as a hero in California. And Judge Hardy here in Las Vegas for his brilliant and well-decided decision that which said that when these people are so rabid, these people filed a lawsuit against Governor Sandoval claiming that he abdicated his power by not enforcing the background check law, regardless of what the FBI says. And Judge Hardy issued this brilliant, like 25, 30-page decision. And if you guys call me, we can show you where to find that, and we can maybe send you an excerpt because it's rather lengthy, but very well done. Yeah. That may be the remedy. It may be in the courts.
The remedy to all of this is in the courts.
Yes.
And you know, our if you like guns and you believe in two-way rights, you may or may not like Donald Trump, but by getting those justices on the Supreme Court, he has saved our butt. There's no way around it. It's a serious matter that's coming up. There's several things that were in discussion on adding the gun-free zones. One of them, which Sheriff Lombardo, our county sheriff, has endorsed, basically, is making the Strip a gun-free zone. Just that the county could do that, the parts of it that are in the county, and parts of it are in the city, of course, but to make the Strip a gun-free zone. Do we have problems with people shooting each other on the Strip?
No, but I think there's a problem with declaring a gun-free zone.
Yeah.
Because it is inconsistent with our Nevada Constitution. Forget about the Second Amendment. We have a Nevada Constitution which protects our right to have firearms. The Nevada Constitution is much more clear. And we have over 170 laws in the Nevada Revised Statutes concerning firearms, including the brand new bill on the background check, which I argued for this specific point. Subsection 3, paragraph 6 of the new background check law says quote, the people of the state of Nevada and the Nevada legislature find as follows. We have the right to bear arms. That's in the new background check statute. So anything about trying to limit anything on the strip would be inconsistent with the Nevada revised statutes. Come to my office if you get arrested on that.
Okay, we are at a odd time here. We've got about 5 minutes. Isn't really enough to cover this next case, so I think we'll put that off till the next one. But I want to mention a couple of things on closing. The Nevada Firearms Coalition is sponsoring a swap meet on Sunday, May 19th. At 4100 West Charleston. That's where the Elks Lodge is. And it's in the back parking lot starting at 9 a.m. This is on May 19, Sunday.
Oh, May 19th, excuse me. I apologize.
Yeah. It's a ways yet. What they're doing is planning to have a swap meet there for their members. You can get a table for $15 if you're a member and $25 if you're not. To do gun trades and ammunition, this and that and the other thing. Kind of a little mini gun show. I can see this being really interesting if some of this stuff has passed prior to this show taking place. I don't expect there'll be any confrontations there. If the law is passed or the city of Las Vegas has decided you can't sell a private party gun to another private party, which is one of the things they're looking at, or can't have standard capacity magazines or one of the things in there is any device that will, or modification that will make a gun fire faster, which if you were listening to last week's show and I had Chris Eifelt from CCS Guns on, said, so when you put a 3-pound connector in your Glock, does that make it possible to fire the gun faster? Yeah, certainly it does. You can pull the trigger faster because you don't have to push it quite so hard. Would that become like a bump stock then, putting a 3-pound trigger, or polishing the feed ramp, or generally doing trigger work on a 1911, et cetera, et cetera? It says anything designed to make or intended to make the gun fire faster. Intended to. So even if it doesn't work, it's still a crime. Anyway, if that's in there, we may have an interesting swap meet. I doubt very seriously that the city marshals, even if this is passed, are going to take any action against anyone there, except to issue a warning that you can't do this without a whatever permit or rule or whatever, and maybe issue them a citation. But it'll be interesting to see what happens. I intend to be there. Just
Bob, I misunderstood you. I thought it was this Sunday, and we're going to make a note to be there on the 19th. Question.
It's going to be.
Question. If I get cited for the sale of the firearm, does that get reported to the CCW Bureau at the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department for a firearms violation, which could result in the suspension or revocation of the CCW?
Of course.
I want to say yes.
Yeah, of course.
We're by a 99% chance we're going to be there. I apologize. I thought it was this weekend.
Yeah, they've all got interchangeable computers now to look for warrants and this and that, and look for criminal histories. The CGS West Coast thing does, but the three major law enforcement agencies in the town, plus Boulder City, a minor one, have that capability. And of course, when they stop somebody, they run them, and if there's a warrant for a misdemeanor in Henderson, it certainly shows up on their computer if they're only in Boulder City. So this could be where the issues start. That's why I'd love to have you there.
Yes.
Not that you can expect Don to jump in and tell the city marshal he's wrong.
No.
He's simply going to observe what's happening and advise you to not speak.
We'll advise you
That's
not
all
to
that
speak.
happens.
We'll advise you not to speak as you're in the back of the police car. Yes.
This is really, really tough
Yes.
to get involved in. We are right up on our time limit now, so I'm going to ask you all to, and thank you for watching Fired Up, and please tell your friends to do that. wherever you find us on YouTube or our website or whatever, click where it says subscribe and the show will come to you automatically every Thursday night around 5 p.m. Pacific. And like you'll get this one if you do that right now. Go to YouTube or go to firedupwithboberman.com. You find the site, subscribe, and then later today, we're filming this in the afternoon. It'll show at 5 o'clock tonight, and you'll get it. Thanks for watching. Thank you for supporting Fired Up. We've got a website in there also that we sell memorabilia and whatnot. You can find that at firedupwithbobermanstore.com, and we got stuff for sale to support the cause. 'Cause I'm broke is the cause. And we'll be back next week. Thank you all. Thank you, Don.
Thank you.